Ready? Welcome tonight to Graham City Council meeting, June the 11th, 2024. We'll ask if Joey can give our invocation. If you'll please bow your heads.
Dear Lord, just thank you for bringing us all here safe tonight and be with us and guide us and give us your wisdom to make the decisions that need to be made and to be with everyone that's here and let them have a safe trip home and be with our city and continue to prosper. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda to approve the May 14th, 2024 City Council meeting and sealed closed session minutes and the May 21st, 2024 special meeting budget workshop minutes. B, to approve a budget project ordinance in the amount of $897,000, 66.75 for the banks and McBride Water and Sewer improvements. To approve, C, to approve a services agreement between the City of Graham and Ward and Coleman, attorneys at law, for legal services effective July 1st, 2024. D, to approve a budget amendment increasing the wastewater capital outlay by $55,000 from $45,000 to $100,000 for the additional removal of solids from the plant. E, to approve an interlocal agreement between the City of Graham and Alamance County for occupancy tax collection. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to speak on any of these consent agenda items?
Question, Madam
Sure.
Mayor. Item C.
Mr. Boney.
A question, Madam Mayor, on item C. At the last meeting, I thought you had indicated that that was going to be made a transition into municipal employment. Has there been a decision against that and instead to have the contract again?
I'll direct the attention to the city manager.
Almost promoted me. The agreement changes them from contract legal services to part-time contract employees.
But it's still a contract?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Does council have any questions about any of these agenda items?
No, ma'am.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion
And
that we approve
wait,
this.
confirmation, yes. Just had a, I just had one question from, for the manager in regards to the occupancy tax. Is there any notice that's gone out to those people that'll be affected by the, to the occupancy tax?
I am not sure if anything has come from the TDA as a body, but even if they haven't, we can send something.
So how will that, you said it does include Airbnb. I'm just thinking about the people that like aren't in the hotel business. They just doing an Airbnb. Like they need to understand how this is going to affect them. So I think it would be proper for us to send out some sort of notice to them to let them know. And then what is the collection process?
So this interlocal agreement will allow Alamance County to collect our 3% when they're collecting the county 3%. So they'll get the funds, they'll disperse it to the TDA, and then the TDA will disperse it to the appropriate municipality.
So this is my question. Is it only people that are registered through Airbnb and Vrbo? Or is it, or would people need to be paying or collecting this tax and paying this tax in if they, like there's maybe not so much here because we're not a tourist area, but I know like at the beach and in the mountains and stuff, they have actual businesses that's what they do, and they're just short-term rentals, right? And they don't go through Airbnb and they don't go through Vrbo or whatever and wouldn't know necessarily the rules. Does somebody contact Airbnb or Vrbo to let them know that there's this additional tax and that any
Yes,
Okay.
and those platforms would be responsible for assessing that 3% occupancy tax when
Well, they
someone is
collect
making.
it. I'm not worried
Right.
about them. I'm worried about mom and dad that are just advertising a short-term rental that aren't going through them. How do they know without us notifying them? That's what my
I'm not
question-
sure how those folks honestly would ever really, I'll say get caught, but that's, I don't mean it in a bad way. The statute spells out like a certain number of days. And off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you what that window of time is, but I would say, and if they met the day requirement, then it would really be on the honor system if they collected the 3% and in turn dispersed it to the county to give to us.
Okay, all right. And then we just, the county just collects that, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and then disperses that to us.
To the TDA and then to us.
Right,
Mhm.
okay, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
explaining that. I just wanted us to make sure that we notify people that need to be notified.
Absolutely.
All right, now, Mr. Hall, your motion,
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as written.
okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public hearing for the adoption of the budget. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak on the proposed budget, the pay plan, or the rate and fee schedule? You'll step to the podium so that they.
Madam Mayor, just a brief question in terms of, is there any significant or any difference between what the manager presented, I think at the last meeting, and the budget as it's pending before you?
No, so from the budget work session that we had in May, there was only one change and it was an increase of $3,000 to 10-4100, which is governing body. That is specifically earmarked $1,500 for the museum board and $1,500 for the HRC. But before those funds can be dispersed to either body, the chairperson or the committee as a whole will come to city council and request what they would like those funds to be used for, and city council has to grant approval.
And so that was just a net addition, no offset?
3,000.
Okay, thank you.
At the last meeting, we brought up the issue about the fees. And I hope I wasn't misunderstood. I talked to, Burke and the issues that their department is having with the reinspection fees. And I think my biggest concern was that, that we don't penalize someone for just trying to make a correction. And so you don't even know what's wrong until someone comes out the first time to inspect it. And so I just wanted to make sure that that first reinspection fee was not exorbitant. But I do think that you're calling a contractor, if that contractor is, I guess that's what I wanted to hear from the rest of the council is, and even from staff, is if the goal here is to stop contractors from calling in an inspection when it's clearly noted on the prior inspection that this needs to be corrected, and they get out there and not one thing has been done to correct that issue, I feel like that person should get a different fine than someone who maybe got an inspection report. Maybe they misunderstood what needed to be corrected and they came back out there and it wasn't fixed properly, but they had attempted to fix it. To me, it's like two different things. And I think it's crazy that we have people building in Graham and they're having to go out 11 times or 10 times for the exact same thing. That is a complete waste of our resources. And I'm 100% on board with finding those developers that are taking advantage of that situation and just arbitrarily calling for these re-inspections that they know good and well they're not going to pass. It's no sense in us sending our staff out there to inspect something that clearly anybody would know is not done, not even attempted to be done. So Do you have a solution, Madam Manager, for that?
My comment to that would be, these fines are generated from inspections within our Public Works Department for developers. The inspection fees related to construction, like of a home or something is like housed in inspections, and it's different. This is not by any stretch of the imagination a moneymaker for the city of Graham, and our staff isn't out there trying to sling fines to developers to pad the pockets of the city. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, what we collect on these fines isn't material. It's not significant. We're definitely not doing this to try to make money. And we're certainly going in the hole, even with,
I don't think we do make money, but
Yeah.
my point is that we're losing a lot of money when people are taking advantage and they're asking us to come out, whereas the average reputable contractor, it takes him no more than 2 inspections to get something passed. And you've got other people that are, 11, 12 times for the exact same thing. That's just not appropriate. So I guess my argument was, you kept the first 2 reasonably small, and then you really started hitting people 3, 4, because it's just going up incrementally, $250 each time. But I don't know. I mean, they deal with it a whole lot, they deal with it on a daily basis. So I'd like to hear from Burke as to, I wouldn't be against, and I don't know that other council members would be against increasing the fines on the, 4th and 5th time. What are we doing here?
Well, you keep calling it a fine, but it's really a fee, right? It's just a reinspection fee, is that correct?
correct.
Because a fine and a fee, to me, those are 2 different things here.
Yeah, it
Apples
is
and
a fee, it
oranges.
is a fee, but it is, before we weren't charging anything and they were taking,
But we should have been,
yeah,
because you look at Graham, you look at Burlington, and Mebane, and you look at what they charge per inspection. I think they load their inspections up on the front side and just charge an enormous amount for the very first one. I mean, we could do that. But I think by doing it this way, I think it's, like I said, we could load it up on the front side and say, okay, you're gonna pay, $1,000 for your first inspection, or we can just do what we're doing now, which is doing just an incremental increase for each time that we have to come out. And I think it's very reasonable. I mean, in fact, I wouldn't be against them being even higher. And if you look at Mebane and Graham and, Burlington, theirs are much higher. So I think, I don't have a problem with it the way it's presented. And I wouldn't have a problem if somebody wanted to just make the first time the biggest fee, but I think us calling it a fine is not really accurate. It's just a reinspection fee for every time they have to come out. Because, it does take up their time, and like you say, it's not a big moneymaker. It's not like we're trying to, break the bank.
Well,
for
why
these
don't we
people.
we'll just pass it as it was presented from the staff. And then can we revisit this maybe in 6 months and see if this has curbed the issue of the expense of us sending our staff out repeatedly? Like, has this, now implementing this fee, has that basically curbed that kind of behavior?
So plan for January to bring this back to council and just let you know where we are.
Is that good with you, Bert?
We can do that.
All right, and I just had one last clarifying issue on the fees is on page 23. Is that is actually to do the tap? That's the physical tap being done, right? Not just an access fee?
I'm gonna let Aaron confirm, but I do believe that is for us doing the tap.
I called Kenny and that's what, because I just wanted clarification that that was correct, but I just.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, all right. Okay, is there anyone here from the public in regards to, that would like to speak on the budget, the pay rates or the pay plan? Not interesting stuff, huh? It's the numbers. So do I hear a motion to close the public hearing?
I make a motion, we close the public
Do I
hearing.
hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Now, discussion among council. Does anybody have any issues that they'd like to address regarding the budget?
Good.
No, ma'am.
I
We've-
think it was,
We've had many work sessions to get all this hammered out, so
I think this is a really good budget, and I think Megan did a really good job for it.
agreed. It's a lot of work.
Agreed.
And it is a lot of work when you're dealing with staffing changes, and thank you so much. I mean, genuinely, like, we greatly appreciate all your extra hard work, and Aaron, thank you.
You said it wasn't exciting, but I beg to differ.
So, do I hear a motion to pass our 2024-2025 budget ordinance,
I would make a-
the pay plan and the rates and fees?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the fiscal 24-25 budget ordinance along with the 24-25 pay plan and the 24-25 rate fees.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We have a new budget. Thank you very much. Old business, downtown enhancement grant potential projects. City of Graham was recently awarded a directed grant through the state of, for $600,000. The city council will consider potential projects for the downtown enhancement grant scope of work. This was tabled from the May 14th, 2024 city council meeting, and I'd like to recognize our city manager, Megan Garner.
This item was continued from the May meeting. In your agenda, you have items that have been particularly discussed or considered as options for the directed grant of $600,000. It does have to be spent in the downtown area. City Council received notification yesterday that the light from Duke Energy had just been installed Friday before. We sent the pictures, the before, the after, and the daytime shot of what that area looks like now with the new light. There you go. Now everyone can see it. We checked with the state in accordance from discussion at last month's meeting, and they would like to have a scope of work for this funding by the end of this fiscal year, which means a decision would preferably be made by June 30.
Say that last part, by June 30th?
The state would like a scope of work, not that it has to be spent, but a scope of work by June 30.
Oh, okay. Okay. So did anybody get a chance to look at those pictures from that Megan sent? I went out and looked in person, and it was, I don't know that picture does it justice, but it was a big difference. A big difference in the lighting.
Lights it up. It lights it up like a Christmas tree over there. Mike.
Yeah, it looks really good. I really liked that. I thought that was definitely worth the additional amount, and I know it's gonna increase our monthly bill. Is there any grants or anything through Duke Energy? Because I thought like when you change to LEDs, they give you some sort of grant or something.
I'm not aware of any at present.
And what we have now is not LED, right?
Correct.
Bert, can you check into that? Because I'm pretty sure that is true, that if you switch from what they have now to the LED lighting, I think they do give you a grant. They, at least I know they do for businesses, for anybody that does that. Uh-huh. All right, and so did you guys okay with that lighting project?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you guys okay with the hanging baskets project?
Yes.
Who is gonna maintain those and water them and clean up the
Tim Covington and his
the
crew.
stains on the sidewalk where it all drips down? Because it's gonna create a stain.
No, it's quoted in the packet that there are quotes from 2 landscape companies to provide and maintain baskets on hangers the city will need to provide on the light poles. The quoted time frame would be 20 to 30 weeks per year with the low maintenance flowers, and the cost is between 43,000 and 50,000 per year for baskets on the metal poles.
That's a lot. That sounds like a lot to me.
Not to come out and have to come out and maintain them and water them for 23 weeks. That's, quite a good, timeframe.
How many baskets would that be?
65, according to this.
Yes.
That's a lot.
65 baskets.
I mean, when I checked with West Jefferson, that is what they did. They hire an outside company to do it, and they look amazing. I mean, I know that, I mean, we have an appearance commission that works on doing nothing but beautifying the city, and I think this would be a big step in that direction. This part of this grant would be to install them. And so that would just be around $4,500 for this particular grant project, but it's whether the council wants to invest in putting flowers out, and we certainly could look at staff doing some of that. I mean, I know that they go around now as it is and and use the watering truck to water things. But, I mean, this is more of like a budget,
Contract.
a budget issue to discuss. It's just, do you want to have hanging baskets like you see in a lot of downtowns? The installation part would be paid for. We'd either have to use city staff or an outside company in order to maintain the baskets going forward. How much is that a month, Megan?
But you got a 10-week spread between 20 and 30 weeks. I mean, it really kind of depends on how long you're going to end up having them. Depends on the type of plants.
Or given the note, as it says, to maintain those baskets and not keep them viable, it'd be watered every day. And it says, to ask our city staff, our public works folks to do that.
I think that's too much,
Yeah,
too much. I mean, my only concern, I think it'd be really beautiful, but my only concern is the maintenance cost, the yearly maintenance cost that we would have to work into the budget every single year.
well,
that.
that assumes we keep baskets every year.
True, but I would hate to, spend this money and then not keep them either. So, I mean, that's
Well-
kind of, again, we're kind of, I don't know.
Can we do it before the first year and see how it goes? And then, by then, we'll have some kind of idea of, is this viable or not viable?
Right.
I do think, I know, I didn't see this price until just now, but I had checked with West Jefferson. I mean, maybe we could scale back the numbers so that it wouldn't be so expensive to maintain them, but they didn't have a price this large. I don't know who we used, but maybe we could get when we actually put it out to bid, we could say we're
Well,
only
that's the thing, but put it out for bid.
get a better price.
Yeah, I don't think I would be in favor of spending $50,000 a year to
Right.
maintain them.
No,
I have no problem putting them up, but it's a lot to maintain, and I don't think would be Public Works' responsibility to have to go out there every day and take care of them. That would be a huge expense as well,
Where'd that number
and they're
come
already
from?
spread thin, so.
well, plus even for them to go out and install, for the city staff to install all 65 of these, that's a lot of work too. I mean,
But that's being,
It's a one-time deal, though. It's not.
Uh,
I get
we're
what I'm
also-
saying.
yeah, but
Perfect.
it's the maintenance that really bothers
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, during the July and August, I mean, it's all we can do to keep what we have watered. And keep everything alive and looking pretty good. Adding more baskets, more stuff to do. We just don't have enough hours in the day to get everything watered. And the hanging baskets, due to the fact of just the soil volume, wouldn't hold water over the weekend, so it becomes a 6 or 7 day a week watering event. What we done is we asked 4 or 5 different landscapers to, hey, what do you think this would cost? Understanding we're gonna have to bid it out later, but I was just trying to get some ballpark ideas from people that do it every day. And this is the range of what we're looking at. Of course, if you go down on baskets, you go down on the overall cost, but the maintenance per basket then goes up. It's just a quantity thing.
yeah,
I'm
but
also
$4,300
still waiting to hear
a
from Duke
month
Energy.
sounds like that's a little, I don't know. I don't know who gave. That seems like a very high estimate to just maintain flowers in the downtown.
All I can do is ask and present to you what they present to me.
Okay, and you said we had to be able to, Megan, when did we have to be able to get a decision on this?
They would prefer an answer by the end of this fiscal year, which would be June 30, and that's to give them a scope of work.
Could we change
does that-
anything on that
yeah,
scope
does
of
that
work? once
commit
we-
us?
Is it like in cement, if we say, hey, this is what we want to do? Can we change anything after that if we wanted to?
I would say most likely, as long as we send it to them in advance of implementing any change.
Okay.
And we're also still waiting from Duke Energy for permission to hang hangers on the pole,
Right.
hang a basket on there. And they've also suggested that there may be an additional monthly pole rental fee to do so. I'm just having to wait to hear their answer on that yet.
So they have them in, do they have them in Mebane? Do they have flower baskets in Mebane?
I couldn't tell you.
I don't remember. I know they have it at Elon, right?
I haven't seen it
Yes,
in Mebane. I'm not sure.
They have them in Elon and I mean, a lot of downtowns have them as a beautification project. So, I mean, we could list that as a potential project, right? And then say that we're still waiting to get, I mean, they would have to understand that we can't do something if Duke Energy comes back and says you can't do this, or if we get, the only bids we get are like $50,000 and the council's not in favor of spending that much money, obviously, that we change it to something else, right? So,
Yeah, one thing that does affect price is these people have to have a certificate of insurance that's to the city's level. They gotta be licensed and have a certificate of insurance. So that, rules out some people that might do it at a lower price, but that's just because we're a municipality, we have to do that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I know a lot of landscapers that have insurance, have liability insurance.
Yeah, they have the level that we require.
Can
Yes.
you keep making comments and you do not have the floor? Please stop making comments from the audience. It's disruptive. I'm sorry, go ahead,
So,
Bert.
What level of insurance do they have? Do they have the level that meets our criteria?
Okay. And And the other thing that I would like to suggest to the council is the crosswalk improvements. Obviously, when DOT came back through and paved over those crosswalks, the brick crosswalks, the brick printed crosswalks that we had, went away. And I'd like to see those back. Would you guys be agreeable to that being used for that purpose? I will say that when I initially went to get this grant, that's what I said was that we wanted pedestrian crosswalks. So I feel somewhat obligated to stick to what I asked for. There's not necessarily a restriction, but I just feel obligated to say, hey, this is what I was trying to do, because there wasn't, people that don't know the history of this, years ago, I volunteered with the city, and we applied for a grant to get, oh gosh, what was the name of that? It was a DOT grant. The Streetscape grant. And it had phases, but by the time it got to like the second and third phase, they had done away with the grants, which didn't make any sense. But this was the first part of that phase, and we did get approved for that, and we did get that done. I went out and tried to find another grant program like this, and DOT wasn't offering anything. So I got this for the city, and work with our local representatives to get this granted to the city of Graham. So I feel somewhat obligated to stick with what I asked for. So I hope you guys will agree to do that. And if there's a shortfall, certainly the majority of it will be covered by this grant. Are you guys okay with that?
Yeah, I think they definitely need improvement.
Okay.
So,
And it addresses safety, the lighting addresses safety. The only kind of nice thing is maybe the flower baskets, if we can get them at a reasonable price and maintain them at a reasonable price. We don't know that at this moment, but I think the council would not be, I think they've made it clear that I think we're not interested in it being some large expense.
when you talk about the sidewalks and such, 5, 8, somebody explain to me how 5, 8, and 9 are different, but yet not, but related. Because 9 is for pavers, sidewalk pavers. 8 is improvements for the sidewalks and such. And then 5 is improvement of the islands in Court Square.
Okay, one of them was a request by council back before DOT paid for, overall pedestrian safety improvement in the entire downtown. It included refuge islands, bump outs, rapid flashing beacons, and putting the stamped crosswalks back in. That's the one that's $500,000.
Okay.
The other one is the a quote for just putting the stamped crosswalks back in, about 8,000 square foot worth of stamped crosswalks. That was just a single vendor with a different process. We've priced that process because it's also possible to see what it costs if we could use something that looked like brick pavers on the sidewalk. Turns out that's not affordable, and then repair costs are astronomical. And so then, also have reached out to some other more conventional, actual stamp and epoxy, or they have a new stamp and thermo process. Just got ballpark prices on that. They're going to be similar to the price that we're getting, got the similar, not included or as by others. So you're probably looking somewhere from $100,000 to $200,000 range, depends on how many of them you do and, what process you select.
Okay.
Question, could this be possibly used if we do something with the park? There was money, we put that money towards that, if, we just, depending on what we decided to
What
do. with
park
that,
are you talking about?
The Centennial Park,
Centennial.
whatever you say, yeah, what you said,
Sesquicentennial
yeah,
Park.
the 150-year park.
That's not what I asked for.
Yeah.
But,
Okay, I mean, I'm just saying if there was money left or.
oh, if there's money left
Yeah.
over,
I mean, and so you're talking about doing restamping just the crosswalks across the streets.
Mhm.
And then we're gonna upgrade the lighting.
Mhm.
What about painting the light poles? We're gonna wait to see. if
I don't
the
think we
power-
can afford to do that
See if
because
they're
it's
at-
outrageous.
No.
Okay.
I don't either.
I do think that the squeaky wheel gets the grease with Duke Energy, and I think that continuing to say something to them about them doing their regular maintenance, for the poles is just something they're trying to get out of, in my opinion, and I don't think we should have to pay for that, especially when they charge us what they charge us for the lighting and everything else. They could certainly use that money to maintain what they have in the
Agree.
downtown, and they're in very poor condition, in my opinion.
Some of them to the point they need to be replaced.
So I mean, I don't mind continuing to work with, Hank's very nice. He represents he's our local rep for Duke Energy, and I feel like he's an advocate for us and can certainly try to work with him on trying to get those repainted. But I think at no cost to the citizens. I think Duke Energy needs to maintain their own stuff.
Agree.
Just my feeling about that. I didn't come up with necessarily this list. I think the staff was just trying to come together with a list of items.
Like item number 4, the resurfacing Elm Street from the traffic circle in downtown all the way to Hardin Street.
Can't hear you, Ricky.
I, like item number 4, the resurfacing of Elm Street from, Court Square all the way down to, at least, Hardin Street. I think it's well overdue to have this section of road.
Do you know where this falls in our priority of our existing capital?
It's
Budget.
still several years out. We've got some roads that hadn't been paved in 40 years.
Or if we just do it from Court Square to, Marshall Street, just that section of road. I mean, that road is beat all to pieces from them trucks coming in and out and all the truck traffic that we have every day.
Is it possible, Megan, that you could check into whether if after they do if they do the crosswalks and the lighting upgrades, if there is any money left over that we would be able to use it for other street like, could we generically say street improvements and, the flower, hanging baskets?
I think they would need specifics on the scope of work, not to say that it couldn't be changed as we
Okay.
maybe progress through, but at least initially, a detailed scope of work for, if we're doing some sort of paving, exactly what's going to be paved, how many linear feet that is.
Is this something we have to decide tonight? Is this a voted item or is this a consent? Like, can we get some more quotes and then get a consensus before the 30th?
I think, given that this is your last regularly scheduled meeting for the month, that it would either need to be voted upon or tonight have some general consent, or call a meeting between now and June 30 to get together as a body to discuss it further, and then either vote or consent to future projects.
Thank you, Bert. All right, spend, I mean, to me, the biggest thing that I asked for was the crosswalks. So I would say the crosswalks, the lighting, and then the flower baskets, if we could. And then if we have, I don't know, after you put those things in there, or instead of the flower baskets, if you could do road improvements.
If we can't do the flower baskets, do we look at doing item number 6 and replacing some of them dead trees downtown?
I didn't mention that.
On the baskets, is there a possibility of doing some sort of nice artificial vegetation that would look, and it's not, it's a basket, it's hanging up, lifelike does it
Yeah,
need to
and
be?
is there not a way that we can pick vegetation that thrives and that doesn't need
I don't know,
watering every single day?
even if you paid more money for it up front, if there was less maintenance. Right, that's why
I mean, I would
asking.
imagine there's a couple of people in here that could do it for a half of $4,500 a month. They would probably say, well, that's not my job, but I can make it my job.
Yeah.
I mean, that price seems exorbitant to me, but, I don't know.
I mean, reduce the number of baskets and look at some sort of artificial.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should I think that would have a big dramatic effect on the appearance of the downtown. But I do think like the most important thing that I felt was for safety and for, the appearance was the crosswalks. So I don't know if the rest of the council agrees, but I would really like, the reason I went out to try to get this grant was to put the crosswalks back that they were, like they were. And if we had any additional monies I did mention the baskets, of course, not knowing how much those were at the time that I asked for that. And I certainly didn't know whether we were going to try to maintain them ourselves or not, but, just something nice that I thought would be improving the downtown. And the lighting was brought up by the staff, which I think definitely improves safety at night. So, I mean, that's only $3,400. And I think that would be a dramatic improvement to the downtown.
I agree.
You agree? Okay.
I mean, I'm okay with redoing the crosswalk across the street and definitely the lighting, hanging baskets. If we could do it in a more cost-effective manner. And we may not even be able to do it because we don't know if Duke Power is going to give us
Right.
permission to do it. So I don't know that
Yep.
we want to earmark money towards that if we can't even, if they say
And if
no.
we can't do the hanging baskets, then we'll
Do-
why not do the trees?
I mean, we could definitely do more in our.
Is there a
our
way that we
planner
could,
areas.
that we could write it to say that we want to do improvements to landscaping, and then that wouldn't pigeonhole us to just do baskets. We could do trees or whatever. Can you get creative, Megan?
I've been known to be whimsical at times. So I think we can do that and maybe even put, both in there as possibilities and say, pending funding and ongoing maintenance costs or
And
something
also
like that.
permission, like we have
Mhm.
to be able to,
Yep.
we have to
Right.
get,
Even the
Yeah.
crosswalks, we have to get DOT's
Yeah.
approval, so.
right.
that's, You know,
Megan,
pending
can we reach
approval.
out to the Forestry Service to see if there's any grants out there that we can, piggyback on?
Yeah, we can certainly check into it.
Well, we have a grant person now, so we're very excited about that. So looks like we have a consensus,
So to be clear, the consensus is 2 downtown streetlight upgrade, 5 pedestrian crosswalk improvements downtown, and possibly 6 tree replacement downtown, and possibly 7 hanging baskets.
yes.
Landscaping, yeah.
Okay. Need a motion to approve those projects.
I make a motion that we approve.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Graham Mebane Lake Comprehensive Master Plan. City Council will consider approving the Graham Mebane Lake Comprehensive Master Plan to allow for various grants, including state-funded Parks and Recreation Trust Fund, Land and Water Conservation Fund, and Accessible Parks grants. This was also tabled from May 14th City Council meeting. I recognize our wonderful Recreation and Parks Director, Brian Fawcett.
Thank you, Mayor. And because of that introduction, I will not be back at the July meeting. I'm just here to basically answer any questions you guys may have concerning the plan. I do have one correction that Councilmember Chin pointed out from page 12 of the plan. There are 2 headings, both say fishing, I think it is. One should say, the second one, if I recall correctly, should say boating. So I have that note already made to address with the firm. If there are any other additional changes, then we'll get those made.
Which
and,
one is supposed to say which? The second one?
Yeah, it looks like the second
14,129?
one, 14,129 should
boating?
say boating.
Correct.
Okay.
I think it's a well-written plan.
Thank
Oh,
you. It was
lot of
there a
work.
lot of work. Took a lot of years to get it done, but we were in the middle of a pandemic and that threw a wrench and, but it worked out well for us to learn some different things, gather some input from those who use the lake, and extended period of research gathering is never a bad thing, so.
Right. Yeah, I think it's, the plan that you have developed is great for for the lake.
Thank you.
Uh,
And sorry to cut you off, but we think it's a grand plan, if you will. If give me that grace to say there are some things in there that are shooting for the stars, but there are some things in
Ye-
there that,
Hey, go for it.
yeah, that I think are definitely needed. And if we get a gracious number of those things in that plan over the next 10, 15, 20 years, then Graham will be in a good position.
Well, I think the lake is certainly, it could absolutely be a moneymaker and actually a revenue center for the city. And you do have to do some investment into it, but we've, for any of the people that are here that maybe don't know, some of the things that this council has done, to make improvements to the lake. We did help me, Brian, I know the improvements to the building
Yeah,
where you check in and check out,
Yep.
improvements to the bathrooms, made them ADA
ADA
accessible.
accessible restrooms.
The new launch, which was
Kayak
a
launch.
huge
Yeah,
deal.
that has dramatically increased revenue from canoe and kayak launching over the years. We also have a rental program, and don't quote me, but that's probably, aside from motorboat launches, which are your traditional fishing boaters. That's the second highest revenue producing section on the water itself that we have. So that was an investment several years back that has definitely paid off and paid for itself many times over at this point.
And when is the other big improvement going to start construction?
The North Carolina, or the state of North Carolina should come in. We've gotten paperwork completed. Megan has been getting emails that don't really make sense to me, but it's progressing down the line, basically, is what they're saying. And I expect that to start. For us, ideally, it would begin late October, November, so there's not a large interruption of operations at the lake, because we're closing, except for weekends, in November. We traditionally do that November and February, and completely close down in the winter months. So ideally, that construction of reconstructing and lengthening the boat ramps themselves and adding docks in between those ramps should happen this late fall and winter.
But that, I know that for years, I mean, gosh, I don't know, probably 15, 20 years, I would say, that has been in need of repair, that where that boat launch is.
Yeah, and Public
It's
Works guys
terrible.
came out. Yeah, they came out. We had a drought a few years ago, and when work was done on the spillway, the lake level was dropped. Public Works guys came out and did their best to basically pull the rocks and everything back to the base of the ramps, but it's a Band-Aid on a bullet hole, and it needs to be fixed quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, I know people personally that don't go enjoy the lake because they don't want to mess their boat up
Yeah.
in the event, you know. And Lord help you if you have one of those situations where you go back too far because you were calling a tow truck. There is no getting out of
Yeah.
that thing because it is a steep drop off.
It is.
So, yeah, I think for safety and for a lot of different reasons, I think the money that we're spending at the lake, I think will definitely pay off. I think it already is paying off. You know, you guys started, the pontoon boat, recreation,
The tours.
tours last year, and those were sold out repeatedly. The fishing tournaments, that's one of the things that I had a question about. And here is that what some of the feedback was from participants, which those are hugely popular, these tournaments, these fishing tournaments that you have, is that the number of participants sometimes, I don't know, I guess you close it out if it's too many or something, is that right?
20 is the limit.
Yeah, and they would like that to be more. So how can we, is there anything that the council can do to increase that so that more people can participate per tournament, or either have more tournaments or something?
It's a balance, and for every one that you hear, we want to have more, there'll be at least another one saying, we don't want to have any, because of the pressure on the lake. So if you have too many tournaments with too many boats, then there are a lot of trophy fish coming out of the lake. And within X number of years, then your fishery is going to be just diminished so much that nobody want to come.
Are we
So,
restocking our
no.
lake?
No, don't need to. Our lake fishery is top notch in the state. And it's got a great balance of, you're not going to be guaranteed to catch fish every time you go. I can't quote the catch rate right now, but when you do, it's a good sized fish. So there's a report that hopefully will be, Wildlife just finished a survey back in late winter, early spring, and hopefully that report will come out towards the end of this year. But prelim reports are saying that our fishery is very strong. And so what we're doing, we need to continue. So throwing any change, drastic change, and I consider up in the number of A, tournaments, and B, number of boats in said tournaments to be a drastic change, because we're taking those trophy fish out of the population. And so that would basically mean we're going to have a whole lot of smaller fish, and it's just going to be out of balance. So I think we're doing a pretty good job, and I think the numbers back that up. Again, you're not going to make everybody happy, but we're trying to walk a good biological tightrope. and I think we're doing a good job. Trust me, Steve Haddon, our lake warden, has a close watch on what happens at that lake ecologically, and I trust what he advises.
That's what I'm asking is from input from you as to addressing some of these, citizen comments, I guess, from doing the surveys that you guys did and everything in regards to the lake. So what about, is picnic pads and additional grill spots and tables, ADA tables and those things, is that something that you're going to be wanting,
Yes,
in the future? Okay.
Yes.
And, I love that you provide the fishing rods for free. I think that's a great option for residents to be able to go out there and take their kids to do this enjoyable event and it not be something that they're having to go spend hundreds of dollars, right, to do.
Yep.
I love that. Do we have enough of those?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
there's never an instance where they're all loaned out at one point.
Okay, and then you have some canoes, kayaks, john boats. Do those john boats have like motors on them or they're just paddle?
Right now, they're
Right.
just paddle. We're not set up with the infrastructure or staffing to be able to have motors and batteries and charging stations to then take down, safely mount to a boat and then let someone go out. We're not set up right now. We've had discussions, we've had site visits to lakes in Durham over the years that do that sort of operation. So we've kind of got our eye looking that way, but right now we're just not set up for it.
But I think having additional kayaks, that's a program that you think you can grow.
John boats, I think we need more John boats,
Wow,
canoes,
the
kayaks.
number of comments of people from the community that said they wanted more john boats.
Yeah.
I guess they show up there really early to try to make sure that they get one.
They do, and some of those comments are kind of dated at this point. A few of the things on the checklist or recommendations in the plan, we've already checked off. So yeah, they were asking 2018, 2019 for John boats left and right. So we started with 2, and then we got 2 more. So we have 4 at this point. And yes, there are mornings that first thing in the morning, they're gone.
Yeah, that was the impression that I got
Yeah.
from the survey responses or whatever. I love that you're doing the introduction to kayaking, the paddle boat tours, all those things are great. Do you have something specific? You mentioned it more in a generalized way about making it a venue for like weddings and events and birthday parties and things like that. Is there anything that we can do or that you're looking to do to try to make the lake a more of a venue?
Yeah, when it comes to that part of the plan, that's the grandiose part of it. And that would require, in my opinion, I think the plans and the maps, if you will, the site plans in the master plan kind of lays out building a new seawall that kind of reclaims some land, and then building a lawn and some sort of enclosed shelter that could be used for rentals, similar to our civic center, if you will. So that again is one of those plans that will take, or one of those ideas that will take a lot of planning in the future, but I can see it working well out there. Lake McIntosh has something similar. They obviously have much more acreage in their marina space than we do. And we're surrounded by landowners around the marina itself. So there's not much we can do except for trying to reclaim some of the land and kind of square off the seawall, if you will. And that'll give us an opportunity for expanding a grassy area to gather and whatnot, but also to put in more accessible kind of boardwalks. And right now we've got a bunch of riprap down to the edge of the water, and if water gets low, you're not doing too much with that. And none of our shoreline is accessible.
The other big comment that I saw repeatedly in the survey that you did was expanding the lake hours.
Mhm.
I know you can't be open 24 hours a day, but is there like I know that they say that it backs up the road. They're trying to get in there. I don't know if they're trying to get the John boats or what it is, but what is your thoughts on, is that additional staffing that you need? I just want to hear from you as to what could make the lake better.
So by ordinance, the lake is open at sunrise, closed at sunset. You have to be not on the water before sunrise, and off the water by sunset.
Okay,
So our hours of operation fluctuate with season and daylight savings and whatnot. We have expanded to being open on Sunday. I think we open at 1 on Sundays, where in the past, I don't remember how long ago we made that change, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. In the past, we were closed on Sundays. So that is an extension of our operating hours.
I bet you that's been received well.
It has. It has.
Yeah, that's great, Brian.
Tuesdays will remain closed. That's kind of giving staff a break. And it kind of sounds funny, but giving the fish a break as well, giving the environment a break to, kind of do a reset. So an expansion of hours, I think we've got it pushed as far as we can go. Unless we want to open at, whatever our earliest opening time on a Sunday could be. But again, we've tried to, walk a tightrope there. With respect to folks gathering too early to try to get into the lake, there is absolutely no road frontage that
Yeah.
we can open up, if you will. The only opportunity that I would even entertain is if we bought an additional piece of land somewhere and adding a kind of overflow parking lot. But I mean, a store opens at a certain time because a store opens at a certain time. And that's kind of how our lake is. And if you get there because you want to be the first one on the lake, if you add 1 or 2 quote unquote parking spots for a vehicle and a trailer, you're going to have 4, 5, 6 trying to get those 1 or 2 spots. So I think we should hold pat on not providing anything. And these are our operations and this is how we run.
I loved I don't know if anybody took a look at the 18 and 19 with the suggestions of things to do on the lake. Got some great feedback on those things. I love the tube, just something as simple. That doesn't seem like very expensive, but like having a designated area for tubes and a hammock area, maybe a playground area. But I'd like to see, I mean, I know this is our first step, but
Mhm.
I'd like for us to see like every year something that we're doing to improve the use and utilization of that lake, because I think that it's a diamond for Graham and, taking into consideration the environmental things, but there, a tube doesn't do, it's not putting any oil or anything like that, like an additional speedboat or something like that is.
When
So,
you say tube, can you clarify?
I don't know, they had these were things for, setting up events like it said tube rides, paddle boats, which I don't think that was something that they were looking to do, but, picnic shelters, again, turning it into a venue, having a playground for young kids, hiking trails, nature trails. I think, setting up programming associated with like doing these hiking trails and taking people on a specific route and having that like kind of organized so that someone doesn't get lost in the woods or whatever. I think I love those ideas. People are always looking for things to do on the weekend like that get them out in the outdoors. I loved all these kind of comments. It was good to see. It seems like you got great participation.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, we're very fortunate here in Graham with the number of parks that we have.
Mhm.
And it's like, hey, the lake is for fishing and boating. We don't need to put more playgrounds out there. And it's like, there are playgrounds throughout our city. And, we don't want to duplicate things that are already available. I think the paths, that's great.
Mhm.
Picnic shelter when you're out, things like that. But when you see folks asking for amenities that already exist and are plentiful, I think it's one of those things. Somebody's just saying, hey, it's right down the street. So, hey,
Yeah,
your car and go drive to Bill Cook or downtown or wherever.
yeah. And for the most part, I agree 100%. I'll give you a little bit of a different view, but our Lake Ward, Mr. Haddon, he's with you too. When I first broached the idea of a playground, he saw slides and swings and whatnot. And
Yeah.
hold on, I don't see that when I say playground or passive amenity. I see similar to what we have at Graham Regional Park with the rock structures that are climbing, something that fits into a natural landscape. And part of that is just to give children who are coming with their families to do some bank fishing, they're going to lose interest real quick, especially if they're not catching anything. So that gives them a little bit of a distraction for a few minutes to go over here. I'm not building a inclusive playground out at the lake or anything by any stretch of that imagination, but a handful of play pieces and play amenities is kind of what we're looking at there. So agree with you on, we don't need to recreate the wheel of a playground out there, but to give a different amenity so those families can maybe spend an extra 30 minutes or an hour out there fishing and kids will come back after a little bit after they played. So that's kind of maybe a more clarifying explanation of what the quote unquote playground may look like out at the lake.
Do you think you might ever allow, what do they call it, rustic, camping?
It's been discussed. It was discussed as part of this plan, and I think it's mentioned in the plan.
Mhm.
Personally, there are a lot of hurdles to jump to get there, and I just don't think we need it yet.
Cedar Rock Park has.
Yeah, there's some areas that are kind of filling that niche, and I don't see where there's a great demand in our area.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of demand for camping. A lot. A lot.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
hopefully they find a spot.
I think
Well-
there is, the RV campgrounds and stuff, the one that's in Snow Camp, it was completely sold out this past weekend, the one in
Jasper
Bevan
Rustic.
as well.
You're,
Yeah, but they do rustic. The one I'm talking about is nothing but rustic. It's not RVs.
When you say rustic, what does that mean?
yeah,
I
that's-
think, I
people
think of what I
actually-
see dispersed camping or primitive camping,
there you go.
where you
Like
just take your
primitive
tent,
camping.
hike out in the woods and put up a
Yeah.
tent.
Right. That's-
Then being next to the lake, you have issues of
Yes,
runoff
sir,
when
you do.
people are using the bathroom and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm
You
not
don't have
interested in
restrooms, so,
going down that aisle.
yeah.
I just saw it in there. I didn't know if that was something that you guys were.
I personally didn't ask for it. Again, these plans throw out all sorts of possibilities that you could possibly do at a facility. That doesn't mean we're taking all of them and running with them.
But you do have the bathrooms in there. Do you have bathrooms that are available? You do have bathrooms there where people wouldn't be using the bathroom in the, like,
Yeah,
out
we
in
have
the woods or anything.
permanent restrooms at the marina,
Mhm.
and during the season, we have portable restrooms down towards the bank area.
Okay.
But
Would you keep the restrooms open 24 hours a day? Don't you
Mm-mm.
close those when you close up at night?
yeah,
they
it's
close
a
the lake out.
city, I mean, it's a city water source, so by
Right, yeah,
ordinance, it's closed.
I'm not a fan of
Yeah,
Yeah,
dispersed camping on a
yeah.
public reservoir.
yeah.
But thank you so much for presenting this. A lot of hard work went into it. I can tell it's very well written. It's very nice. I appreciate you giving the comments and the feedback. So I need a motion from the council in regards to our Graham Mebane Lake Comprehensive Master Plan.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to approve the Graham Mebane Lake Comprehensive Master Plan.
Do I hear
Madam Mayor, second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Boards and commission appointments. In regards to the Appearance Commission, Tree Board, Ally Billiard, I believe everybody has their applications here. I think this person is a nurse, I believe.
Is she present?
I don't know this person. Does anybody know this person?
I don't know her.
Brian, do you know this person?
No, ma'am.
He lives at 321 Albright Avenue. Registered nurse. And she is interested in serving on how about the Appearance Commission Board? Are you guys in favor of putting her on that board? Is that fine? The Appearance Tree Commission?
Works
Okay,
for
which
me.
one are we talking about?
Appearance. Commission.
Appearance Tree Commission?
Okay, so we have 2 vacancies and 2 requests to
Be reappointed.
reappoint, is that it?
Oh, do we?
Yeah,
Yep.
yes.
Got to
I'm
reappoint
so sorry.
Bernadette and Zipporah.
So,
Oh, I apologize.
to-
I'm so sorry. So yes, I apologize. I thought that was the opening. So reappoint Bernadette and, Zipporah Baldwin. Then for the Graham Historical Museum Board,
Madam
when
Mayor,
when it says one vacancy, is that in addition to that? It's in addition to that. Okay, to that reappointment.
we,
So on the Appearance Commission, there is a
yeah, there,
vacancy in
yeah, there are,
addition.
there actually are 2.
In
because
addition to that.
We changed
Okay,
it to
so-
5 or whatever,
But,
from 7 to 5. Is that correct?
so is it okay for Ally Villiard to be on that then? Okay. All right, so we're gonna say that's gonna be okay with the other 2 reappointments. And then John Harrington reappointment. We don't have any applications for that. And then I'd say the reappointment for Robert Sykes.
Yep.
And Karen Chin. And, then the planning board adjustment.
Well, they
Is-
have
You have
4
Ally.
vacancies on the historic, don't we?
You have
And we
4
got Ally
vacancies.
Billard on that one too. Do we want,
I'd like to get some additional, people to apply for that and maybe try to advertise that more. Do you think we could put like a post about that? Because we have so many vacancies, 4 vacancies.
Okay.
Did some people, oh yeah, we had some people that, I think someone, didn't they also move too? Somebody moved or something.
that was on the tree board.
Oh, that was on the tree
Uh-huh.
board, I'm
Uh,
sorry.
Yep.
Matt, there will be more vacancies on HRC. Matt Haley is not renewing. 'Cause
Okay,
it-
can we maybe?
It's his new
Can
job.
we maybe re-advertise the Historic Resources Commission and re-advertise the Planning Board? Because we only have like 1 applicant for either one of those. And I haven't seen any advertising for those. The Graham Rec Commission, Lori Pickard,
For reappointment.
for reappointment. And do you want to advertise that other position since we've already given Ally a position on the Appearance Commission? Or do you want to add her to the Rec Commission?
I think we should reapply or put it back out for bids.
Okay, so just Lori Pickard for Recreation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, so recall. Bernadette Consulman, Zipporah Baldwin, Ally Villiard for the Appearance Tree Board, Graham Historical Museum, John Harrington, Graham Housing Authority, Robert Sykes, re-advertise the Historic Resource Commission, but also appoint
reappoint.
Karen Chin. The vacancies re-advertise and appoint Karen Chin, for reappointment. She's already on there. And for the planning board, if you could re-advertise that as well. And then, Recreation Commission, if we could, re-advertise that
And also appoint Laura.
and
Pick-
appoint
reappoint.
Lori Pickard. Do I hear,
Mayor, if you appoint Lori, that gives you 1 vacancy. Because
can
she,
you re-advertise that?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. And if we don't get anybody and Ally reapplies and wants a second one, I mean, to me, like, they're just putting choices out there, but we've already put her on something. So if she still wants to be on I don't want to sign her up for too much and scare her off. So if she still wants to be on there when you talk to her, then we'll certainly consider her for a second board. But I'd hate to say you picked these choices and we put you on two boards without her, like, acknowledging and saying she's okay with that.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to see this council move away from appointing, same person to multiple boards.
Well, yeah, I mean. Okay.
I get what
I
you're
mean-
saying, Ricky, but when you're spread kind of thin anyway,
Yep.
it's hard
I,
to,
I
hard to
understand
fill
that, but,
position.
Sometimes you can't avoid it or we won't
But-
have enough people.
Yeah, they're trying to get a quorum and stuff, so, but anyways, for the ones that we have, we can take that up if she decides she wants to be on a second board. We can take that up at the next meeting, but, for this slate that we've put forward, do I hear a second to approve and appoint the members?
I
Second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I have a quick question about the Historical Resource Commission.
Uh-huh.
I thought we had brought that down to 5 members. Could we bring that down to 5? Do we
I
need
think we
to-
can bring that up at the next meeting. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah, we need to regroup that because 7 on that board, you're never gonna have a quorum.
Okay. All right. How we doing on time, Bobby?
Doing great. How long, Mayor?
All right. Public comment period. And Griffin McClure, are you representing the chamber? No, you're here to discuss the sesquicentennial park. David, what can we do to keep you here in Alamance County? David. You're not, you don't fit in with those people in Chapel Hill.
Test the waters and we'll see. I'm excited.
Griffin, can you not get him to reconsider?
He's gonna continue to live in Graham at this point, and that's the best we can do.
See, when someone tells you an offer, you up their offer.
But we counter offered, yeah,
You did,
we did. We tried.
David.
Hmm.
You're not gonna like it there. You're gonna want to come back. Let's go.
Griffin McClure, 622 Johnson Avenue. But today, I'm here more as the property owner at 118 North Main and 126. I'm here to advocate for the parcel inhabited by Sesquicentennial Park to remain a green and public space. To call it or to treat it as a surplus property truly is a disservice to the people and months that went into planning it, the Sam Powells, the Pat Baileys, Lib Culps, and Sarah Ryans. But I'm not here with any directive, just a reminder that if sold off, this is irreversible. We will never get it back. I'm pretty sure in urban design and city planning, in the first couple of weeks, you talk about green space, particularly in your city centers. And we can't have a greener space in our city center than what that park is. Not just in as aesthetic, but as a place for people to gather. I'm not comparing us to London or New York, but think of Hyde Park, Central Park, Golden Gate Park. Big cities have big parks that are as famous as their downtown cores. The right landscape architect could make it the jewel of downtown. And I drive by that area as much as anybody in this room, and the comments that have been said so far aren't really fair. Just in the last 2 weeks, I've seen lots of graduation pictures taken there. People take calls in that park. They have their lunch. They stop for breaks during walks. I think it's an important location to keep as a public space. Again, no specific ask from me except to talk, for you all to talk to the businesses on that street. I don't know who of any of you have talked to the people on North Main Street, on Court Square, that already aren't represented on council. The whole thing is just illogical a little bit to me that we would scrape that park where many cities fight to gain that space and own that public space in their downtowns, and we just treat it as surplus. Doesn't make sense, smells a little funny. I'm against it. I think you'll find other business owners and property owners up and down that street are against it. I would talk to Jason Cox, the adjoining property owner. I think Amy and Cheryl from Sandy's and Main Street, Renee's around the corner. I think the folks at Little Oblivion, Amy at Graham Physical Therapy. I don't know if any of these people have been talked to. John and Molly at Hi-Fi. Jason again with Press. I mean, people walk down there with their coffees. Mayor has a new coffee shop. I think this is ahead of itself and over the skis a little bit. I think we back down. Think of this as truly a treasure to our downtown. It doesn't have to remain what it is, but let's keep it as green and public space. That's all I'd have to say today.
So I don't know if you know the history of how this came up to be, but it came up in our budget session because we were concerned about how much it was going to cost to fix. And since then have had some discussions with the people that originally, there was a basement there when it was, when the building fell, it fell unexpectedly, fell out into the road. And so they ended up bringing a boom truck in with an actual like thing to knock it down and knock down the rest of the building. And it all just got pushed inside the basement. So there's all these voids, large voids and things, that continue to make the inside of the park, collapse and come down. So trying to get all of that up and then putting in, the shoring equipment and all of that to try to fix it properly, was going to be a huge expense. And I think had we proposed that originally, I mean, if the citizens don't want to spend $50,000 for improvements to the downtown, I can assure you they don't want to spend that much money to completely redo the park. And it would have to be redone because basically the foundation of the whole park is completely sunk on the one side. And it's going to continue to sink. I mean, there's not really a fix for it other than to fix it right. It's a issue. Nobody has come up with on their own to say, let's get rid of the park. Megan, was it you that brought it up, Megan? I don't want to, but I think
Yeah, I
you brought
believe
it up
in
at the,
February or March.
yeah, at the budget hearing. And, I mean,
I think at last meeting, I heard
hundreds
several
of thousands of
several
dollars.
people say they wanted a building there.
We were only trying to come up with
Yeah.
what could we do with it
That's what
other
scares
than,
me.
than spend that kind of hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix.
So I'm not
fix
hearing
it.
from others that the costs are that high to repair what's there. And I think you're also listing hurdles for private development as well.
What? I'm sorry, listing what?
Listing hurdles for private development as well, right?
Hurdles? What hurdles?
Sunken
Oh, yeah,
basement, the empty space below, all those things will have to be addressed by someone.
One way or the other,
Right, but
For that
the
space to
taxpayers
be
wouldn't have to
useful.
pay, yeah.
whether we do it or a builder comes in and does it, that basement is going to have to be excavated. The retaining walls either have to be reinforced or new retaining walls will have to be done. So if
And
a
I'm not-
developer comes in, they're going to have to do the same thing to make it
Correct.
useful.
Correct.
Now, here's the thing, the challenge we are faced with. That piece of property, to repair it, is not covered by insurance. The cost to remove the current structure of the park, take all the bricks and all that was purchased through donations and such, to disassemble the structure, move it,
But
then
reuse the bricks, not
we're gonna reuse, we're gonna reuse.
like, no one would lose their
Yeah,
brick.
We're not gonna
That was our
throw that.
concern.
But the thing is, that land would have to be cleared. All the retaining walls would have to be stabilized. And that is not an insignificant cost. And that's a cost that would have to be absorbed by the taxpayers.
And you've got quotes on that or
I think he's still, I asked literally
ask
before
him.
the meeting on,
Okay.
I asked, last week and I asked yesterday, and he's still waiting to get a bid back from a contractor. But they did meet out there and they did go over like the amount of the work and everything. That's why we haven't made a decision about it until we
Okay,
see what the price tag is, but I mean.
so you haven't seen any numbers?
Well, we had a number.
No, but I'm
numbers
just telling you, like, it's
Okay.
gonna be a lot of money, I can tell you that.
Wasn't it just
But
a
we're
sheet of
not
paper,
making
like
any decisions until we
$50,000?
have that.
Yeah,
That
just
was
to
only
level
for,
the
That was
pavers
only for
alone.
Patch
and
it was 50,000.
patch it was
So we're
50
looking
grand.
To remove the entire park, dig that back out, recompact the dirt. You're looking at several $100,000 that we're just estimating right now.
Well, and to your question earlier, Joey, I think, and if my math is correct, sorry, Councilwoman Parsons, I know you too well. If my math is right on the 600,000, the downtown enhancement, you've got 97,000 as a start, that can be used from that grant. Is that correct?
from what?
The grants we talked about earlier tonight?
So I went to get that grant and it wasn't for the purpose of redoing the park. It was for the purpose of, putting the crosswalks back in. And I had talked to them about, flower baskets. I didn't have any estimates, of course, at that time. I didn't know how much that was going to be. But the things that I talked to them about was improving the crosswalks, putting them back as they were because we didn't have a grant for that, and to improve safety and to do that. I didn't mention anything about that, so that wasn't something that, I feel like I don't want to say one thing and then go back and use the money for something else. That was my feeling about it.
So you-
I mean, the city is not broke. The city, if this is at some point, that the city or the community feels that they want to spend $500,000 or what did Burlington do? Burlington spent how many millions of dollars on the carousel? I mean, we represent the citizens. So if the citizens of Graham decide they want to spend $1 million on a park and they want to come here and advocate for that, then, we represent the citizens. But I have a feeling that that's probably not going to be the case. And in regards to speaking to business owners, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I'm sure you've spoken to people, and I have spoken to a lot of people on Main Street
Mhm.
about the park, and they were in favor of another building going there. And that, again, was not, it's not like we just said, oh, what can we do? Can we go change this to a building? It was brought up in a meeting about, do we want to put in the budget some huge amount to fix it? And I were like, well, we don't know how much that's going to be. We need to investigate how much that is to see whether we can do that or not. We haven't been able to get those prices yet, because it's a big project. And so once we get those prices, we'll have to address it in this upcoming year's budget. But I mean, it's getting to the point where it's like a safety issue there because it's
Yeah.
such a huge drop in the,
Yeah, something has to
and-
be done.
yeah, something has to be done. So I would agree with all of that,
The
but
two things you wanted to say, or you wanted the grant to address, you've approved tonight, and there's $96,000 left, right? The lighting and the crosswalks. You all approved those tonight?
and the flower baskets without, like, if we can get them to where it's not a huge maintenance cost to them.
And possibly the landscaping too,
Yeah, landscaping, the trees
trees
or
or what-
whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. But I mean, to me, like that, the grant that I specifically went out to try to get for the crosswalk improvements, so that we wouldn't have to take it out of our regular budget, which should be a good thing. I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, without doing that, we wouldn't have $600,000 to make these improvements. So that's a good thing. I don't want anything negative to be written in the newspaper about that because it's nothing but a positive thing. But in regards to, any improvements or any repairs to be done for the Sesquicentennial Park, in my mind, that is something that I feel should not be taken out of that because that's not the reason why I went to go get that grant. I went to get that grant for those specific improvements. And I feel like I need to stay true to what I asked for, and not use it for some other purpose. And the whole time, in regards to any repairs or improvements to to the Sesquicentennial Park, that was always a conversation to be taken out of funds from our budget. Not, like, if we want to go and try to get funds for a grant to make improvements for the Sesquicentennial Park, then we need to say that from the get-go. We don't need to, like, hey, can you give us this money to use for this purpose, and then change it and say, nope, we're not going to use it for that. We're going to use it over here. I don't feel comfortable doing that. But the discussion has always been from a budgetary standpoint to take monies out of our existing budget. So I hope you understand it's not that I'm against using grant funds to do something. I'm against going back on what my word was.
Are there designations or parameters in writing anywhere that came with or a cover letter or anything that came with the grant?
No,
The money just floated down?
I went to get money from the state and I got a $600,000 grant through our local legislature.
Okay.
I mean, there is nothing to say that we can't use it for something else, but I just don't feel comfortable
Okay.
using it for something other than what I asked for.
Would you feel comfortable if Senator Gailey said it was okay?
I mean, why couldn't we just, whatever improvements that we're going to make or not make to the Sesquicentennial Park, to me, that's a separate issue that should be addressed with the budget.
And we've set a safety priority too. I mean, as far as all downtown.
Well, so is the lighting and the crosswalks, but
Yeah.
it's also safety.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be argumentative at all. To me, it's just two separate issues. It's like if I had gone to the state legislature and said, hey, I want, a new park somewhere, and then I get the money, I don't feel like it's right for me to not do what I said I was going to do with the money. I'm sorry, that's just my feeling. And the issue, just because the issue with the Sesquicentennial Park comes up, that doesn't negate that we couldn't still do something with the existing budget that we have. We have a budget. We're not broke. I mean, we can use existing funds that we have if that's what this council and the community
Yep.
wants to do. But I think the price tag is going to be quite expensive. I do think that initially the Sesquicentennial Park was put there as a beautification project to celebrate the 150th anniversary. But I do think that what I hear from people is it's very difficult to have an event there, number one, because it's not covered. And if it rains, it's difficult to plan events there because it's not something that you can have in the event that it rains, that it's very, very loud there, as you well know, being on Main Street. And so that's another issue that is a concern. And when it was brought to us, I guess I just feel a little bit offended that, and not by you at all, but just that, we're just trying to be the best stewards of the citizens' money that we can be. And the issue of, that building being rebuilt there, I'm just saying that if we aren't going to use it as a park, to me, and I don't even think I was the first one that said that. I don't remember who it was, but somebody else. And I said, that was a great idea, I thought, because it's a business district. It's not a park district. It's a business district. And you could put the building back there. If you still wanted to honor what the original purpose was, you could call it the Sesquicentennial Building. You could put back what was originally there. How can you be more original than putting back what was originally there in a historic district? To me, that didn't seem like a bad thing. And putting all the bricks on the outside sidewalk area leading up to the Sesquicentennial Building and putting some restrictions on, being able to use that. But then it wouldn't matter about the noise. It wouldn't matter about any of the truck traffic or anything. It would just be back like it was. I don't know how old that building is, but I would say early 1900s. So not anything bad or nefarious or anything, but I just didn't think. My personal opinion is, as a taxpayer, I wouldn't want the city to be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to excavate that, to put back something that we have celebrated the building, but as public spaces get new ideas and new reuses. I didn't think that Bobby's idea of trying to still use the pergola somewhere else for some sort of venue, that maybe, I think he had suggested it going into a park area that's quiet, that you could maybe have an outdoor event in. I didn't think I mean, I think the council had a lot of different ideas, and they weren't bad ideas, but that was just one of many.
Yep. And I'd love you to stay open to keeping it a public and green space.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And the next, yes.
May I follow on that topic, Mayor?
Sure.
While we're on it? Mayor, the part that I think concerns me in following up to Griffin's concerns, which I very much share, is the statement that you made several times tonight, that you went off to Raleigh and got this grant. On whose behalf, Mayor? And on whose direction? And with what guidelines? You apparently on your own went to get this grant, and I commend you on the one hand for your creativity, but I do not commend your committing or implying or committing the city of Graham to spend the money in a particular way. You've said over and over tonight that you're not comfortable because you told them you wanted to do stamped crosswalks. But it's very interesting, Mayor, because at the last meeting, at the meeting in May, we heard 8 or 9 ideas that allegedly had been put together, all allegedly in compliance with the grant's purpose of downtown enhancement. Nowhere in that discussion was there this idea that somehow you were committed, you had committed to Senator Galey or to someone else that you would spend it in a certain way. Instead, there was a list of things that the council was allegedly choosing among, prioritizing among. And tonight you continued that discussion, although you have specifically seemed to have a particular priority of these stamped crosswalks. There's nothing that says it could not be used for the Sesquicentennial Park. To me, you're looking a gift horse in the mouth. Earlier this year, you would moan and, oh, we don't have the money, even though nobody has an estimate yet, other than $50,000 that was thrown in at some point. Nobody has an estimate of what the cost would be, but somehow we're going to go and spend $600,000 on some other stuff, and then going to be left with whatever the Sesquicentennial Park repairs might be. And to me, even the priority on getting information on that is clearly not a priority. We apparently have a priority on relocating the park. Councilman Chin mentioned to get some alternatives as well as the cost of repairing the park. But so far, we don't have any cost on repairing the park. We have lots of ideas apparently submitted to the city manager on where to relocate the park.
Okay, are you finished?
I think so, Madam
Okay.
Mayor, because it appears that on this topic,
Only here can I be a villain for going out, and because we're going to lose the crosswalks that we had, I'm a villain for going to the state of North Carolina and bringing in $600,000 to the city of Graham to be able to put back the crosswalks that we had. That's what you're trying to say.
no, ma'am.
This has nothing to do with the Sesquicentennial Park.
No,
I
ma'am.
asked,
It has to do with what this council would decide to spend the money on. There is no commitment that is in writing.
exactly, that's why we're having this meeting. There is no commitment. There's no commitment. That's why we have to get a consensus of these people. Jennifer did not decide on her own. That's how it's going to be.
But Jennifer led, you've already described.
I've just
it
told you
several
what my
times.
opinion is. I have gone and gotten this money. I have gone and tried to make sure that we brought in money to the city of Graham.
But the way.
And,
the money
and you
came
could have
in-
gone and done that too. If
And
you're,
the way-
I think you should go and advocate to state legislature or to DOT or to whoever you want to do for whatever project that you're passionate about. But I'm not a bad person because, or a bad council member because I went out and rallied my state legislature to get money for a particular project. And so
But the-
me
but-
specifically saying, Tom, that I am going to try to hold a commitment to what I have said that I wanted to have done. I did not put that list together. I have no control over what list the staff says. They know that I've gone out and gotten this $600,000. And as far as I know, the only thing that was going to be on there was going to be the crosswalks and the baskets. I didn't know anything about, did I, Megan, know anything about the paving or anything about any of these other projects? I think, he's just like you. Oh, you see that I've gone out and got this money and now you have your own ideas about how we should spend it. And other people might, on this council might have other ideas on how to spend it. And that's perfectly fine. But you didn't go out and get it either, did you? I mean, that's not
No, ma'am,
really
but as I
fair.
understand it, the money came into the city of Graham, not to Mayor Jennifer
That's
Talley.
exactly
And
right.
so Mayor Jennifer Talley's description of how she wanted to spend it might have been a nice lobbying point, but it is in no way a restriction on how the
And that
city
is
of
why we are
Graham.
here. That's why
to
we're
spend the
here.
money.
That's why we're here. We're here to discuss with other council members as to how to spend the money.
But
And they didn't
Mayor,
have to listen to me. They certainly could have come
I
up with
think-
their own idea
I think
based on the
if I
majority.
may too, we're still waiting on numbers of how much it's gonna cost to fix the park. Nobody's made any decisions up here as of yet, on what's gonna be done. And until we get those numbers in, and I think Megan just explained, we're waiting on the contractor to get back to us. Then we'll have a better idea what we're dealing with. I mean, we honestly don't have a price on it yet. So I think, and we have to get, a plan in to the state for this $600,000 grant that the mayor went out and got. So we have to turn something in, and that's why I asked the question too. Can we change it later after we turn in this plan for using the 600,000? Can we make a modification to it? And you said that we probably could. So nothing's really been decided. I kind of feel like you're, unfairly beating up the mayor, for,
Just because I don't agree with you about what should
Well,
be done with the park.
well, and that's the thing, no one's voted on this yet. We have not made any decisions yet. We're waiting for those numbers to come in. I have talked to some business owners, myself, and, a large number of the ones I talked to are in favor of ripping that park out and putting a building there. I will tell you that, but I mean, I got more people I'd like to talk to. I haven't talked to everybody.
I've talked to people
But-
on the Historic Commission and I've talked to some business owners. And, I mean, we're talking to the public. We're not just
Right.
making a decision in a box as you
And
would
nothing's been
allude to
decided
in
yet.
your last
Nothing. So
article.
we're still discussing.
well, there's discussion, except that when I asked the question at the last meeting about using some of the 600,000, the mayor immediately rejected the idea out of hand. When Councilman Parsons
I'm one
raised
person.
this-
I'm one person. There's
Councilman-
5 people up here. I have no more power than the remainder of these people. That is my position. If you're going to ask me, if I go and I apply for something, regardless of whether it has restrictions or not, and I say, this is what I'm going to use the money for, you are absolutely right. I'm going to say no to everything else because this is what I've said. I didn't mention that. It's just like he said something about you came up with some other thing that I didn't disagree with. I think that's a great idea. I just didn't mention it. And so I'm not necessarily for that, Tom, because I want to stick to what I said.
And Madam Mayor.
Me
Ryan-
using me advocating to the rest of the board who makes the ultimate decision about the $600,000 has nothing to do with the repair of the Sesquicentennial Park. It has and always been a budgetary decision. That's why it was brought up at the budget meeting. Me going out and getting grant money that we didn't have in the budget is a good thing.
Oh, it is a good thing, Mayor, except that you have put limits on how it can be
Okay,
spent.
we're gonna have to agree to disagree.
We do
So-
agree to disagree, Mayor. But the point I want to make, earlier tonight, Councilman Parsons also raised the question of spending money for the Sesquicentennial Park. You shut him down in the same way. So in other words, you cannot commit the city to the use of this grant, which you keep citing over and over, when the
Okay,
grant
Tom.
came as 600,000 for downtown enhancement without any strings attached from the state. They might have been attached by Mayor Talley. They were not attached from the state.
You're advocating a point. We've already made a decision about that. I mean, you could have gotten up before we made a decision about what we were going to spend it on. If we end up getting prices that are exorbitant and that we don't want to use it for whatever the purpose is, then we'll certainly take it under advisement what your concerns are.
All right. And I might add, Mayor, but now that you brought it up, that's also a good point. Somehow the council was not interested in having a public hearing on how to spend the 600,000. We'll just decide among the 5 councilmen how we're going to do it. Why couldn't we have a public hearing in which the people of Graham could make some comments about how they would like to see the 600,000 spent?
What are you doing? That's what you're doing right now. You're up here. It was not only on last month's agenda, it was on this month's agenda. It was on I think the March agenda.
Not a public hearing though, Mayor.
Has there ever been a meeting that you've come to that we have not allowed someone to get up and speak, even about the consent agenda items? Don't even go there. That's not correct.
You are generally very lenient in
Eh,
hearing from the public.
As I am
including me.
now.
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Next for public comments, David Bradley.
How do you do, Mayor?
Good, how are you?
Well, a little jumpy right now.
Would you state your name and address, sir?
David Bradley, 215 College Street, Graham.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I'm in the right place or not, but I got to start somewhere, and this is as good as any. I'm really looking for some help and assistance in a situation that arose here that I don't know how to deal with. It's very unpleasant, and I'm just trying to find out how to remedy it. I'm going to cut this short. I went to a event on the 11th of May. They had music and different things, and there was vendors there. And I went up to a table, and there were some things on that table. There was some wallets and things, and I was looking at it, and the lady was sitting there, and some gentleman was sitting behind her. And I looked at the wallets, and I said, you know, how much are they? And do you have a website, et cetera? And she said, yes. She gave me the card. And I said, well, I'm waiting for my credit card to come in the mail. My other one was compromised, so I can't get it right now, but I can get it online, right? Yeah. So as a joke, which is evidently the wrong thing to do, I had the wallet and I went, oh, excuse me, and put it back like that because I thought it could be funny to some people. It wasn't funny to them. I went around the corner and sat back in my wheelchair, and the police came around and said, could we talk to you about the misunderstanding over the wallet? I said, sir, there's no misunderstanding over a wallet. The wallet is still there. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm leaving right now because I don't want to be here anymore. So I later, you would call it slander. There's civil offenses called slander, defamation of character, etc. They have spread rumors all over creation about me being a thief. And I have been trespassed from downtown businesses because of it. It's very stressful. It's very disappointing. It's angering also to a degree. But I want a remedy. I want this remedied. I want it renounced. I would accept an apology, a renounced, and I want to be allowed to go back to the coffee shop downtown. Now, I don't know if I'm talking to the right people about this or not. This might be a very unique experience, once in a lifetime thing here for everybody. That's just my story, and I don't know if it's the right thing to do or not. I'm looking for someone to help me find out how to get to the bottom of this thing and clear it out so I and my daughter and the rest of my family can enjoy our stay here in Graham.
So I've heard about this and I know about this, but I can just tell you that this is not the right
Okay,
body.
thank you. Everybody has heard about it. That's good. I'm
Well,
glad to know that.
what I'm
Thank you.
trying to explain to you is that we don't have any control over whether a business allows you inside their
I'm
property.
not talking about, I'm talking about just who can I go to? Do I have to have an attorney? What do I do to find out? I mean, the people that instigated it, they have a website and a Facebook and she sells, I don't know who that was behind it, was a husband, a boyfriend or what? I don't know, she might not have anything to do with it. Maybe he instigated it. And she's totally saying, what have you done? Are you out of your mind? Anyway, I am in the wrong place, but.
Well,
now everybody knows.
everybody has the right to, every business owner has the right to refuse service.
I'm not concerned with going to the business. I'm concerned with finding out how to remedy the defamation and slander and clear it where everybody in town does not consider me to be a thief. And I don't know how to do it. May I take out an ad in the paper? Get an attorney? Go to legal aid? Well, I don't know. I just wound up here and I might be, probably am in the wrong place. But I do
Alright.
appreciate y'all bearing with me and I'll just deal with it. If
Okay.
anybody here has any suggestions, I'm open to it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl, Amy, are you here to address the council? Sure. How are you, Renee?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good.
So my name's Renee Russell. I live on Ward Street and I also own a business on the frame shop down on West Hardin. So I had emailed you guys last month a proposal for a project for the downtown grant. So I was here in case you guys had any questions, but it seems like you've moved a little bit past that. So I guess I just want to say did you get it?
No, I didn't. I don't know anything about it, but I have a big the city puts did you get one?
I don't.
I didn't get it. We have a filter on our, because of all the spam that we get.
So I sent it to Renee and then.
Yeah,
she
it came
forwarded
from
to
my
Megan.
email.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. I apologize.
Didn't either.
Okay.
Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, so it was so you talked about wanting lighting and baskets. And I know one of the biggest problems that I have as a business owner and on West Hardin Street is just getting people to turn the corner, but also because I don't know what businesses are downtown. So this was a project that kind of incorporated all those things. It was these lights with hanging baskets and then signage that would point and direct people to what.
Wayfinding signage?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in different ways. So you could just have banners or even, post signs, but something to let people know that Frank's Jewelry is down there, frame shop this way, coffee shops, and just kind of for people coming to town that don't know the area, people that have just moved back and don't really know what businesses are around, that they'll just walk and can see.
Okay. Well, we did have some money for, grant projects and stuff that we do for the businesses
Mhm.
that you can apply for. I just recently put up I don't know if you saw the sign with the butterfly on it there at the Colonial Hardware.
No.
Um,
Maybe. I think.
Stop by and take a look at it. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Markle Metals did the butterfly at the top.
Mhm.
But it's a art walk that we'll be launching called the Instagram Art Walk.
Yep.
And you can go to all the different and you can QR the art walk and it'll actually take you on a Google map of where each, where the bee mural is, where the all the different murals
I was looking at the
that
website. Yeah.
that are here. And that tells a little bit about the muralist that did the project. And it's a nice little fun thing, maybe for like an art field trip, maybe with your teacher to come and do, or just for somebody to do on a Saturday. But it is kind of like a wayfinding thing. But if you look at that and then let me know whether you think something that looks like that, it's very bright and colorful and it gives directions on where to go. So maybe we could do something like
So
that.
I think something that's a little bit more projecting and is a little bit more like worked in with the existing signage of like working on the poles or some with the street signs, something like that.
Well,
Because I know we have the directory,
mhm,
but it's out of date and it's
yeah,
a lot of people don't even know that they're there because they're just kind of hidden away.
yeah.
So I think having something that's kind of in people's faces a little bit more will help businesses.
Well, I tell you that the sign ordinance for the city of Graham, I've been complaining for a long time. Maybe we can schedule a time to sit down and actually do some substantive work on, because I've complained as a business owner and as a resident about the sign ordinance needing to be redone. And I don't think staff disagrees with that assessment, but, the projecting signs, I think, specifically where you're at, I don't think they will even allow, projecting a sign. What is the footage that it has? Because I think, weren't you, Cheryl, at one time you had applied for a facade grant to put a projecting sign there and you couldn't have it on the Hardin Street side because you have to be, is it 50 foot away?
Yeah.
And Griffin already has one there, so I don't know.
I'm talking about doing stuff on the street corners.
Yeah, I know, weren't you trying to put that on the street corner?
I was trying to put that on our building, like in the back.
Do you know where Griffin's projecting sign is?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think that's 50 feet to the corner.
Okay.
It could be, but I'm just,
So is it the same if it's on a building or if it's on a pole?
I think Renee's referring more to your wayfinding signage, which is more in line with what you have with your pole signs and
Yes.
so.
The packet explains it a lot better. It's got
Okay.
pictures and it's kind of more of that like old school, yeah, feel.
okay, yeah.
And really kind of works with the whole like small, like vintage vibe that downtown Graham's got.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
Yeah.
It was sent on June 5th, just as a point of reference. She had 2 different attachments.
No, I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it either. I'm so sorry.
But yeah, just trying to get people, I've been in business for 2 years and people come in all the time and are just like, oh, you must be new. And it's like, no, I've been here for 2 years. And they just don't know. And there's a lot of traffic. I'm a bright store, but they just don't know that there's a framery downtown.
Okay,
So
all right,
that's it.
thank you.
Oh, I also want to say about, if I can, about the Sesquicentennial Park. I would love to see it as a green space, stay as a green space. So as a citizen and business owner, that is my opinion. So
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Amy with the Main Line. And what she was talking about, another thought for the lighting, an idea would be solar lighting, which would also help Graham save money and make it more of a green, eco-friendly space. And I am also with Renee and would like to see the park stay a park.
I had actually, brought it up, several different times, during this discussion about, it had nothing to do with the grant, but just in general about lighting and solar lighting, and is there a possibility of doing that? But I don't know, at least what I keep getting told is that the technology is not there yet to be able to replace like downtown lighting with solar lighting, because of course, the big expense of changing those big bulky commercial lights out with something that more of decorative, like what Renee was showing and what you see in a lot of historic downtowns, the beautiful old, ornamental poles and stuff. is putting all that stuff underground, that's the expense of it. And it's like millions of dollars. It's not like, you look at the price tag and you went, oh, you go, oh my gosh, that's too expensive. So it really deters us from being able to change that unless we got some big grant in order to be able to do that. But I thought if we could get solar lighting, would take away the need for it to be underground, right? And digging up the roads and all that sort of stuff. But what I keep being told is that the technology doesn't exist to be able to put out enough lumens using solar lighting to be able to do that. But I don't know, maybe if Elon Musk gets into the lighting business, we'll get there. So I don't know, but I would love that. If you find a project or if you find a product that allows, that you've seen in a city that uses solar lighting, feel free to please pass that on to us, because one of the things, I kind of went out and did my own research too about like the stamped stuff and sent that to Burke, and Burke was able to get some more estimates and stuff as a result of that. Because I had seen that particular crosswalks, that process done somewhere else. And so it gave but like he was saying, like, maybe that would have been an alternate, a possibility for sidewalks, but it's so expensive to like, replace it, right? I would love to see us have brick sidewalks, but again, looking at the price, it's just outrageous.
Right, right.
But,
And I have been in cities, and I can't remember exactly which ones, where there are solar panels on the streetlights, and I'm not sure if they do actually work, the lighting, the streetlights. I assume they did, but I will do some research and see what I come up with.
I would, you would definitely have my support on that if we could change out those ugly lights that never get repainted into something that looks more historic and decorative and ornamental. And then also the bonus would be it being
Eco-friendly.
solar, yeah, and
Yeah.
eco-friendly and all of that. So it'd just be a win-win.
Right.
So I appreciate you being here. Can you say a little bit, because I know you guys texted on a group text that I watched about Slice of Summer, and how your business fared in that.
Oh, well, so well.
So if you'll let
Yes.
Megan and Brian just show your appreciation to them, trying to come up and work a compromise for that.
Yeah, we did extremely well I opened every year for Slice of Summer, and my numbers were okay, and then based on what I had to pay out to have the extra staffing. And when I look year over year, I would have to say I quadrupled what I did in previous years. Yeah, so it was very profitable for me. So thank you all.
By not closing the road in front of your
By
business.
not closing and me not having to lose business for those hours that the road is shut down. I mean, and even when we were open after hours, our regular business hours for the event, the numbers, I can look at what I made hourly, and the numbers just weren't there compared to what we did in our normal business hours this past event. So,
Oh.
yeah, thank you all for compromising.
And I think they had a pretty successful event. It looked like they had a lot of happy people. I posted all the people that were there and the setup and breakdown in fast mode on Facebook. So it looked like they worked really hard and had a lot of happy people. So
It was great. It
Yeah.
really was. And one more suggestion with the light posts, if
Mhm.
you can get them painted, black would be a really cool color.
yeah,
If they can.
it's so interesting that you say that, because we have mentioned that multiple times to Duke Energy. And because you changed the color of the paint, they try to charge you as a decorative pole, even though you're not changing out the pole to an actual decorative pole. Just because you change it from gray, commercial gray, to black, they want to charge, wasn't it like 3 times the price? It's some outrageous, like, I totally agree with you. They should all be black, but I've even said, can we, because it was like, how much was it to repaint the poles? Is it on that list? It was like some outrageous amount.
Well, I know that the quote that we received back then.
229,000 or something like that.
Yeah, they wouldn't honor it now, but it'd be higher than that quote that we received then.
Yeah. So 272,000 to just repaint them.
Oh my
And,
goodness.
and it's because they have to take they have to pay an electrician, obviously, to dismantle the electrical from the pole, finish painting it, and then reinstall it. So they have to set up like a temporary thing for everybody to still have power. And anyways, it's a complicated thing. Trust me, I try to come up with every, money saving option. I asked Aaron, I was like, can we paint it all the way up to where the electrical outlet is? And then let somebody come in and just do that part all the way up? And he's like, yeah, they won't do that.
Oh, man.
But,
I'm in the wrong.
cause I mean, you feel like you could just go get a gallon of paint and do this yourself, but, they won't let you. So, it's a little frustrating for us because I don't feel like the taxpayer should have to pay for that. That's just my feeling. And when it was brought up, by staff, I think it's an improvement to the city? Yeah, but I think that if that's going to be addressed, it's something, in my mind, it's something different and outside. And it needs to be handled with budgetary monies, in my opinion. But, yeah, I mean, if the city was to spend any money on those kind of things, I think the budget needs to address those issues. But again, I think Duke Energy needs to be responsible for their own stuff. We shouldn't have to pay for it, I think.
I agree.
So,
Thank you all.
Cheryl, do you have something to say about Slice of Summer?
Oh, my God, yeah, we did great that day. I think because.
Need to come up to the.
No, we were really happy to have the streets open, and I mean, anyone could see there were tons of cars out there. There was tons of foot traffic. I think moving it, really helped. Anyone else that I've spoken to, the other businesses, they did great. I think it was a good move, and I hope it continues.
Thank you, Brian, for working with the businesses. I think it was very appreciative. And hopefully, you felt like it was a successful event as well. All right. Any city council comments?
Can we do city staff already?
Any city staff comments? Megan? Renee? Okay, any city council comments?
Come in.
Okay. City council will consider going into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A6 to discuss personnel, and pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A5 to consider the purchase of 1076, 1100, and 1134 Town Branch Road adjacent to Bill Cook Park, parcels 147, 644, owned by James E. Tier heirs, 147,738, owned by Ann Eulis Tier, and 147,739, owned by Ann Eulis Tier, for the intended purpose of park and recreational facilities. Do I have a motion and a second to go into closed session?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we go into closed session.
A second motion there.
Can I ask you something, Megan, before we go? Yeah. Okay.
I agree.
I looked up the parcels. I thought, I don't know what you're trying to buy, but it is definitely where where that. Yeah.
I do concur that I believe there is a good faith effort. I believe that what's listed here, however, might be a little outdated. Mrs. Tier has died several months ago, and I believe all parcels are listed now perhaps in the first name of James E. Tier heirs. Her two daughters, I don't know if it's listed by them individually or as James E. Tier heirs, but I believe that's the distinction that I was.
Hit the I button and then click on one of those. Yeah, it says Susan
Those two
Lambert
daughters.
here and Kathy Tier Evans.
So I'd asked them whether they were listed as James E. Tier heirs or in their individual names. It is the two daughters of Mr. Tier, actually, who was a former planning board member, and Mrs. Tier and Euless Tier, who's listed on the two properties.
Mayor, bottom line, we certainly made a good faith effort, to identify a problem for our law,
Okay, thank you.
We didn't vote.
Oh, all in favor of going into closed session?
Aye.
Aye.
back on.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we come out of closed session.
I second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, Madam Mayor, I make a motion, we come back to open session.
Your a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now we're back in open session. In closed session, we discussed an increase in, the pay given to our city attorneys, which would be a 6.2% increase, from their existing compensation, which I believe to be 87,600
So it's 87,000 some change.
annually, I believe. And so that would be a 6.2% increase. Do we need to make a motion? Okay, make a motion, we approve a 6.2% increase to their pay.
Second your motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. And that's that.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
And do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We do have an event this upcoming weekend, Dalton Davis in downtown, and then we also have another concert the following weekend on Saturday. So please come out. And I think Dalton Davis just released a new thing in Nashville, a new song. I think he's been pretty popular, so he's becoming more and more popular